joining us. The President talking, in fact, suggesting that an eagle eye will be kept on any funds that are being donated, including whereas the Solidarity Fund will set up a separate bank account for those that are willing to make donations. Is this a key aspect to all that's going to be going on in terms of rehabilitation of KZN, and other thoughts regarding the state of disaster that the President has just instituted?
Yeah, so first of all, the DA is extremely concerned about the situation in KZN, and we're particularly concerned about the lack of access to drinking water. Speaking to DA members of parliament, members of the provincial legislature, and councillors, especially eThekwini, over the weekend, I got the impression that there is no real coordinating authority for disaster relief in the province. No face, no leadership, no responsibility. And there's no indication, even when the President spoke to us this evening, of a concrete plan and a program of repairing and rebuilding, especially service infrastructure. So there's a lot of acknowledgement of the problem, but no real detail of this is where we're going. These are the next steps. So reports are now widespread of disaster relief being distributed on a political and factional basis, especially in Durban. Reports of ANC ward councillors commandeering, essentially hijacking water tankers as well as food trucks. And then this is absolutely unconscionable. This is exactly what we don't need. And no wonder we now have unrest in many communities, and organizations such as the Mercy Civic and Ratepayers Association, claiming that the Premier himself, Premier Cyril, has commandeered an entire municipal water tanker for his own household. And this is perhaps the reason why national government is now intervening.
If you'd allow me to come in there. Much of what you've said is based on impressions. And what would suggest? Sorry, please allow me to finish. Please allow me to ask my question.
Sure.
In your own language, you've said you're under the impression that certain things have happened. There are suggestions of things happening, but there appears to be no actual evidence to this. Surely, you as the DA member should have hard facts.
So speaking to DA members of parliament, members of the provincial legislature, councillors, these are the stories coming out. And you're, of course, most welcome to speak to organizations such as the Mercy Civic and Ratepayers Association who are making these claims, who issued a press statement today. And if you're not covering that, maybe you don't have the full story. So there's serious concern and there's unrest. You don't need claims of unrest. There is evidence of unrest across the province because of the mismanagement of the situation. And maybe you should look into that. But that's the reports that we get from our councillors on the ground trying to assist communities. And I think this is the reason why national government is now intervening, is because there is a lack of leadership, a lack of accountability on the ground. What is very important in this declaration of a national state of disaster is what the President said, and I think he anticipated our criticism, that there should be accountability to Parliament. And it's the first time that the President is calling a sitting of Parliament to discuss the issue of accountability under a national state of disaster. And that we welcome, because we know that these declarations present an opportunity for unscrupulous and corrupt elements within society and the governing party to essentially steal and loot, to take advantage of the opportunity. At previous occasions, when a national state of disaster was declared under COVID-19, the DA has called for an Inspector General to be appointed to see to it that funds are properly spent, because the Auditor General can only look in the rearview mirror. He can only give an assessment one financial year in advance, whereas an Inspector General can check that money being spent in real time is not being stolen, misappropriated. And that is what is now essential. It is essential that we have a clear plan of action, but also that there is enough measures put in place to mend the breach of trust that has happened, not just in the past 2 years, but also in the past week in KwaZulu-Natal.
That was DA